I'm really excited to be here. I think there's just some great energy in this meeting, and I've got to meet many of you, and some of you I have met through other meetings at systemic formulas meetings and things like that, and I'm just really excited to present what I have here. And what I sense that's happening is we're being drawn together with this common goal of changing the way we take care of ourselves and really creating a healthcare model that empowers our patients and empowers us. One of the things I did promise to, somebody asked me to do Rodney Dangerfield. I used to do Rodney Dangerfield. I'll tell you, things are bad. You know, my dentist told me my teeth are turning yellow. I told my dentist my teeth are turning yellow. He told me to wear a brown necktie. I don't know, you know. Now, I love the nutrition here. Everybody talking nutrition. You know, nutrition in my house. Let me tell you, the food was so bad in my house that flies flew in to fix the screen door. I'll tell you. We said our prayers after we ate. Anyway, all right, that's Rodney Dangerfield. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. We have a lot to talk about. I'm going to give you a little oral microbiome lesson. I'm going to give you we're going to talk about, of course, mercury from the perspective of a dentist who's been around this, and he himself was poisoned by mercury. We're going to talk about root canals, this giant, big, you know, scary world of root canals. Many of you came up to me and everybody has a story. It's amazing because, the mouth and body connection is a window to your overall health. So I like to say that the mouth is a mirror and a gateway. So it's a mirror and a gateway to everything that's going on in the body. And I'm going to show you, I really was talking to a wonderful medical doctor, neurologist from Texas, and the connection between Alzheimer's, gum disease and Alzheimer's. And we're going to get into that a little bit, especially, the whole mercury issue and all that. So oral health is on the front line of your ability to live a longer, healthier life. That's my mantra. And basically, on the left, you see systemic conditions, and there you have on the right oral manifestations. Some of them are pretty startling, like leukemia, oral ulcers. I have diagnosed leukemia in the mouth. I've diagnosed lymphoma from the mouth. I have seen everything from eating disorders to diabetes, tuberculosis, and everything else. So please take a picture if you'd like. I'm happy to share these with you. What does your tongue say? The Chinese study the tongue, right? I know many of you who practice Chinese medicine have looked at the tongue and the things that can be revealed just by looking at your tongue. And it's amazing. Dentists look at teeth, and they look at the gums a little bit, but the average dentist is like the drill 'em, fill 'em, bill 'em guy. And I came out of dental school in 1983. At 13 years old, no, I'm kidding. But in 1983, when I came out, I knew that I didn't want to be a drill 'em, fill 'em, bill 'em guy. And I enrolled in the very first program in holistic health. It was a master's program being given at the Pratt Institute at night. And from there, in the 1990s, I went 3 years up to Harvard Medical School symposiums in complementary and alternative medicine, which then became complementary and integrative medicine, and now it's functional medicine. And we could put all kinds of definitions on it, but it's really at looking at us as a whole. Let's look at the tooth to organ relationship. Someone was telling me that they had a root canal root canal on tooth number 14, and she's very concerned about the implications for breast cancer, or that she was diagnosed about somebody. It was an upper left molar and breast cancer. So yeah, there you see the first and second molars on each side related to the breast. So a failing root canal related to breast cancer. How could that be? Dr. Weston Price, who in my opinion should have a statue in front of the ADA headquarters, okay, he founded the research arm of the American Dental Association. And he was really scorned and disregarded by most organized dentistry. And I can probably speak for 2 hours on why that is. And the American Dental Association was actually founded by pro-Mercury dentists shortly after the Civil War. Yes, pro-Mercury dentists formed a new group, and that became the ADA. And Farmer formed the AMA. But there was the National Society of Dental Practitioners, National Association of Dental Practitioners, which was the organizational body of the anti-Mercury guys. And they were forced to disband. So oral health is the 800-pound gorilla in the wellness room. I am amazed. I am absolutely amazed that I go and give these talks at functional medicine meetings. Dr. Mercola, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, did a whole webinar with me, and all these guys. And you know what? There isn't enough information, but I'm here to tell you that you cannot be well, okay, if you don't, and you cannot do, and I love that I am teaming up with Dr. Pompa to bring the oral health component to True Cellular Detox. And we have some really exciting things to show you. But if you don't have a healthy mouth, you can't. I actually found a gorilla brushing with Revitin, actually. So you can't ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And the oral systemic link has brought together just about everything from Alzheimer's to colon cancer. Yes, Alzheimer's to colon cancer, even erectile dysfunction, and prostate cancer. So, and basically you see stroke is actually 300% increased risk, heart disease 72, 168%, oral cancer 400%, diabetes is 7 times greater. If you're a young pregnant woman, you have a 700% greater chance of having a premature low-weight baby, and the same statistic for preeclampsia, okay? And premature low-weight babies are often born with developmental disorders like cerebral palsy and that kind of thing. So the mouth-body connection, the Surgeon General reports 80% of Americans have gum disease. 80%. You know, when I came out of dental school in 1983, that statistic did not change. So what is wrong with this picture? And I'm going to tell you what's wrong. And you will really be amazed, because I'm going to talk to you about what's wrong with your toothpaste, including your natural toothpaste. Any Xylitol fans over here? I got up 10 years ago, started talking bad about Xylitol, and they were like, what do you mean? The research showed. Yeah, the research was paid for by DuPont. We'll talk about that. But anyway, people with gum disease are 2 times as likely to die from heart attack, 3 times as likely to die from stroke. The other thing that isn't on that statistic is that if you have gum disease, your heart attack will be a killer. So not only will you have a heart attack, but there's a 90% morbidity. So I talked about pneumonia and respiratory disease, premature diabetes and bleeding gums increase your risk of premature death by 400 to 700%. And a big connection with rheumatoid arthritis now. And the statistics just keep coming. So how does this happen, right? How do you go from, let's see if I can get this pointer to work. Just got it back. So how do you go from, I think I just changed the slide. How do you go from healthy gums to gingivitis to periodontitis to advanced periodontitis? And that's very, very interesting. So again, the 3 big statistics, 85% of adults over 35 have some form of gum disease. There was 80, but over 35, it's 85%, and it goes up from there. The link between gum disease to systemic illness is now well established, thousands of studies. Past approaches, antibiotics and antimicrobials. By the way, Triclosan, which causes cancer, and just got banned by the FDA, and everything but toothpaste, we'll talk about that, is an antimicrobial, but so is tea tree oil. So is tea tree oil and Tulsi oil. We'll look a little bit at that. So what is it about gum disease that does all this damage? Well, it is one of the body's #1 sources of chronic low-grade inflammation. What is chronic low-grade inflammation? Chronic low-grade inflammation is it doesn't hurt. Most people don't know. I have people come into my office and their front tooth is going like this. And they're like, it just keeps moving. I don't know what's going on. And I take an x-ray and they have advanced periodontal disease and And they've got, 80 to 90% bone loss, and they felt nothing. So that's the serious part. It's like a silent alarm bell going off that's not being answered. And that has ravaging effects on the whole body. How? 4 different pathways, and you should take a picture of this slide. Pathway number 1, direct effects of oral infectious pathogens going right into your circulatory supply, right? Tiny capillaries, bleeding gums. There are some nasty pathogens. By the way, those nasty pathogens are also very, very happy, benign, and even beneficial bacteria, what we call commensal bacteria, that in a balanced environment. And I'm going to explain to you why bacteria are bacteria. We went from the germ theory of bacteria are bad, nuke them all, kill them all. And that was, penicillin, streptomycin, blah, 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 all the way up to vancomycin. And now we have vancomycin-resistant bacteria. But the other part of that story is that we went from that to saying, well, there's good guys and bad guys. So let's throw more good guys in the body or on the body, and they'll outnumber the bad guys, and we'll win the war. Well, that doesn't work, especially in the mouth. Probiotics do not work in the mouth, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. But the third one, and what we know right now, is that resident bacteria cause 85% of disease. They are not these gum disease bugs fly in your mouth and cause gum disease. They are resident bacteria that are out of balance. And what happens when they're under attack? They get angry, really angry. And we use products that make them angry every day. And we swing the pendulum very hard from an atrophic to a hypertrophic oral microbiome. I'll explain that. Atrophic is a desert. Hypertrophic is a jungle with really scary creatures, like spirochetes and things like that. So I want to just finish up here. Then there's an inflammatory response to oral pathogens. So bacteria go in your blood supply, trigger the liver to release C-reactive proteins, which have inflammatory effects on your whole circulatory system, just about every major organ system. Third one's inflammatory effects on vascular integrity. It pokes holes in cells, okay? It creates ionic oxygen, and it pokes holes in your cells. So I love, where's the tight junction people? I love that tight junction. And the fourth one, which is really fascinating, this is where a lot of science and research is going right now, the effects of gene polymorphisms to a more pro-inflammatory genotype. And there's a lot of talk about epigenetics, right? Let's change the gene expression. We can do it. I remember, I have a very good friend who's a pastor of a church, and he got up and said, when you believe, God changes your DNA. And I was like, well, I went to, I got a medical education. Your genes are your genes are your genes. This is 25 years ago. Then I read a book by Bruce Lipton, which you may have read, called The Biology of Belief, and that what you believe can change your DNA. So yes, we can change this expression of our genes. The oral microbiome is essential for life. It's essential for protection against harmful environmental pathogens. So the oral microbiome protects you from deadly viruses and bacteria in the world outside us. And this protective mechanism is why you don't see salmonella infections in the mouth and E. coli and all this, yet they can, eat a bad Burger King hamburger. And you all eat Burger King hamburgers here. GMO beef. When you eat a bad piece of meat, and you get a salmonella infection, it wrecks your gut, but it goes right through the mouth. The mouth is exposed to the outside environment. So, yes, the oral microbiome is a cousin to the gut microbiome, but it is different in many, many ways. And one of them is this protective component. This is an essential part of your immune system. It's an essential component of our digestive pathways and salivary immune system regulation. I'm going to blow your mind in about 5 minutes. I'm going to blow your mind when I give you this little mini 10-minute microbiome lecture. It's going to change your world. And the reason is we've been looking at this stuff here in dentistry, And we've been saying, this is plaque, okay? And this plaque, we got to kill this stuff. So we got Listerine, kill germs on contact. Colgate Total, kill germs 24 hours a day. You know, use tea tree oil. Well, your Triclosan's not bad, and Listerine has too much alcohol, and that's linked to cancer. So use, healthy gum tonic with 9 essential oils to nuke everything, okay? And the reason that's harmful is because this film is merely an unhealthy expression of a naturally essential part of your immune system, a natural microbiome. The 5 big microbiomes, right? Mouth, gut, genitourinary, respiratory, skin. Some great skin people here. That osmosis stuff, I used it last night, I love it. And the interesting things that are coming up from systemic formula, my good friend Shane Morris, amazing work in the world of the microbiome. So between Dr. Pompa, myself, and Dr. Morris, we could talk for 30 hours and once without stopping about the microbiome. So let's take a look at what goes on in the mouth. So I talked a little bit about the atrophic stuff, right? Nuke the biofilm, nuke the oral microbiome. By the way, the word microbiome came out in 2002. And it was coined by Josh Lederberg. Anybody know him? He did a lot of work, microbiome science, and he came up with this word microbiome. We used to call it biofilm. Biofilm, the body's biofilms. Microbiome sounds a lot nicer. So in the oral microbiome, we go to this scorched earth policy over here. This is the desert. This is like the line in Apocalypse Now. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Well, that's what Listerine and Colgate oil and Tulsi oil and tea tree oil and all that does right here. Okay, and then when the pendulum swings the other way, this is hypertrophic. And what happens is when it thickens up, that's what you see here. This is a hypertrophic biofilm. So if you are waking up in the morning and brushing your teeth with the fuzzy sweaters, I like to call them, you got fuzzy sweaters on your teeth. When you start brushing with this, you're not going to have fuzzy sweaters anymore. That's the first thing that we did 5 focus groups, and the first thing the consumer said is, I wake up in the morning and my teeth feel squeaky clean, like I just came from the dental hygienist. Because a balanced microbiome, which is in the center here, okay, is just think of this as a desert on the left, and on the right, think of that as the jungle with the scary creatures, and you got piranhas and blah, 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 lions and tigers and bears. And in the middle, you have mostly aerobic bacteria, and they're blades of grass swaying in the breeze with flowers coming up and all that. It's the healthy garden, okay? So what we really want to do is, I went on the Martha Stewart show. Martha had me on and just tried to have me explain. I said, Martha, it's time for doctors to get out of the pesticide business. And what I'm really promoting is organic gardening in the mouth. And she went, oh, I love that. Organic gardening in the mouth. She's a huge Revitin user. So here we have, on the left, the atrophic biofilm. Now, what happens with an atrophic biofilm? Well, with what's called acid-base reactions, which is mostly tooth demineralization and remineralization, acid-base. That's why calcium carbonate in here is a great alkalizer. Acid-base, sodium bicarbonate, calcium carbonate. These are alkalizing ingredients. So root tooth sensitivity is what happens with acid and base. You have people have brushed with Colgate Total, and they come into me and they go, my teeth are so sensitive. So then they buy Sensodyne, which is fluoride with potassium nitrate, and it's got a poison warning on it to try and close up the dental tube. I'm going to show you why, when you have a balanced oral microbiome, the sensitivity goes away. Why does the sensitivity go away? Because the microbiome in the mouth is this incredible transport machine that takes calcium and phosphorus from your saliva to repair your teeth and naturally remineralize your teeth. And conversely, it brings oxygen to the gums. So down here, you have ulcers and burning mouth. So I get calls by oncologists who say, we send us a case of that toothpaste because the people that are brushing with it don't have oral mucositis, burning. So if you know anybody on chemotherapy and radiation, please give them this, okay? It will literally save their life. because that is almost worse than the actual medical treatment itself. So when we look at what's going on, and I just want you, this is the 5 minutes I'm going to give you on oral microbiome science. So that film in your mouth that feels like fuzzy sweaters when it's imbalanced, and it's clear, odorless, and tasteless, thin, clear, odorless film when it's healthy. You don't even know it's there, but it's there. They took plaque off the tusk of a mastodon frozen in a glacier, and they put it on a petri dish. This is frozen a couple thousand years. Bacteria uncovered and flourished. So the idea that you think you can kill, and the closest company that came to it was Colgate, came out with Colgate Total in 1998 with a $100 million launch budget, after my mentor, Dr. Stephen Moss, said, no, stop. You don't want to do that. You don't want to kill plaque. What you really want to do, it's essential, because we were just getting the diagnostic tools to study in vivo the oral microbiome. We couldn't do that before. We used to take plaque, put it on a brain. Some of you may have biologic dentists that I'm going to talk to you about your holistic dentist, because unfortunately many of them are not good dentists. You have to be a good dentist first. My aim and my hope and my prayer is that I can take the best dentists in this country and turn them biologic, and not let these holistic dentists who use it as a marketing ploy, because they'd never make it as a conventional dentist. So I'm a holistic dentist. I do safe mercury removal. Well, you got to do good dentistry, because D in dentist stands for doctor. EN stands for engineer. There's a lot of engineering in dentistry, and the TIST is from artist. So you got to be a doctor, an engineer, and an artist. You have to have good hands, you have to have a good mind, and you have to have a good heart. And that's a great dentist. So getting back, we have an intelligent semi-permeable membrane. And it's the oral microbiome, just so you know, it's water, salivary proteins, crevicular fluid, immune complexes, minerals, and vast numbers of microorganisms. There's about 700 species, 6 to 10 billion in number. It exchanges with the structures on which it sits, which I'm going to explain right now. So it can be a storehouse of the minerals and ions that keep your enamel hard and pH neutral. So this regulatory function of the oral microbiome we never understood. And when we understand it now, we realize that it's vital for life. And if Colgate was successful in nuking the microbiome, as I went off on that last tangent, we would have unleashed ecological Armageddon in the whole body. But the good thing is, these bacteria have paid a very high price to be there. So whether you are a creationist, which I am, or you are an evolutionist, and think we evolved from these bacteria, well, there's a lot of talk that we are made of bacteria. We are walking bacteria containers. And even our human cells, the mitochondria, mimic the shape of a bacterium. So there's this whole bacterium mitochondrial theory. In the Christian Bible, it says God took from the dust of the earth and he breathed his spirit into it. But you got to go to the Hebrew text. Because when I found that out, the hair on the back of my head stood up and said, and God took from the fertile soil. The earth was covered with microbes. So we look for, where do those microbes come? How did God make the world? The earth was covered with microbes. He said he took from the fertile soil and he breathed his spirit in it. We are mind, body, and spirit because we are wonderfully and fearfully made of bacteria, which changes the definition of what it means to be human. And that's why everything has changed in the last 10 years. Everything we know has changed in the last 10 years. So the microbiome serves as a storehouse or a deficit beyond minerals. It brings molecular oxygen to the gums, and it also molecular oxygen supports the aerobic bugs, keeps anaerobic bugs from overgrowing. So we have this regulatory capacity. And ionic oxygen is a free radical that can damage epithelial cell membranes, and it pokes holes in the cells, and that's what happens in an unbalanced microbiome. So when we see an unbalanced microbiome, the ionic oxygen, as I just said right here, this is when you see gingivitis, this first stage of inflammation of the progression of gum disease. But it is a pretty amazing, when we started looking with tools like confocal laser microscopy, atomic microscopy, fluorescent probes, we started to see the architecture of the gums. So your holistic dentist who takes plaque off your teeth, puts it on a slide and scares you with all those bugs swimming around. You got to kill them. So I'm going to give you a special natural formula to kill that. He doesn't have a clue that this is an amazing machinery that's right going on in your mouth. So again, and to sum up, the oral microbiome becomes unbalanced. You start to see the early colonizers here, this nice aerobic, beautiful, multicolored flower garden starts to turn into this. The aerobic stuff gets stomped out. You start to see spirochetes going. And this is where the true anaerobes, this is a Fusobacterium and spirochetes. Fusobacterium nucleatum is one of the biggest thugs of bacteria in the mouth. And it is a big thug. So this is, gangs of New York, form when you get to this. But what's interesting, our body has the amazing ability to heal. We can rebalance the microbiome and it changes everything. And Fusobacterium nucleatum is actually a commensal bug. It lives in your mouth. And my father took me to Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn when I was a young boy and wanted to show me where he grew up. And it was a war zone, okay? Years and years of welfare, fraud and everything. You'd see, these beautiful bombed out brownstones. And then, and just, gangs in the street and everything. And I was like, we got to get out of here. It's like inner Detroit or just about any inner city, any ghetto in any inner city. We create ghettos in our mouth when our oral microbiome is unbalanced. And then you have thugs like this, Bloods and the Crips, you have Fusobacterium nucleatum, and Porphyromonas gingivalis start, taking over. And that's why when you think about that, by the way, Brooklyn where I was born, is under an amazing, amazing new world. It's just completely rehabilitated. And I wish I bought one of those brownstones back then because they're worth a lot of money now. So the oral microbiome in health and disease functions whether it's in balance or unbalance. Dis-ease in the mouth is from an unbalanced microbiome. So big change in our assumptions, and I know everybody's a fan of Roundup here. That's one of the biggest scourges. Well, Roundup is the same as Triclosan in the mouth. So Triclosan is the glyphosate of oral care. So what we really want, we're going from pesticide to organic gardening. And how does that function in this world? Well, this is a perfect partner with a balanced microbiome. So you should be balancing your microbiome while you're doing the true cellular detox roadmap. And where, Dan, you and I need to really bring the oral component in there, it is definitely a cornerstone of this being highly successful. All right, really quickly, because you guys are, you have Dr. Pompa, who's probably the number one person that I respect for effectively detoxing from heavy metals, because it's like peeling back layers of an onion. So I have functional medicine MDs who I know who I can't refer people to. Of course, they hammer them, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll do IV, we'll do chelation and blah, 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 and you're all done. You're all done. It's just like trying to get rid of parasites. Yeah, you do one round and da-da-da-da. No, they lay eggs. You got to wait 2 weeks. Got to do another round. Da-da-da-da. And you really have to understand the protocol. I can tell you all without any doubt that the protocol, the True Cellular Detox Program, and the protocol that you guys learn under Dr. Pompa is the best there is. And I am, as a biologic dentist, I can tell you, and as someone who has poisoned himself, this is the real deal. Because this, by the way, I love the infrared sauna people who are here because your head is out of the sauna, because when you sit in an infrared sauna with your head in there and you got fillings like this, okay, you are definitely, you're gassing off mercury vapor, okay? You got your hot coffee, your hot bullet coffee, and you grind. So you need to really consider, I know many of you are sitting out there and you're like, I got some of these, you know, and you really can't detox. You can't detox, especially from heavy metals, because you're just going to crank them out of these. So you got to find a good restorative dentist who also is biologic. Don't go to the holistic guy because, oh, he's safe, because you may just get crappy fillings and bigger problems. And some of you may be shaking your heads at that. That's my biggest frustration. How much mercury comes from silver fillings? Well, I had a high mercury. My doctor told me, stop eating tuna. You know, stop. Oh, I was eating too much sushi. Well, here's sushi, and here's dental amalgams and vaccines. This is an equally scary world. I'm sure many of you saw the movie Vaxxed, and many of you know about Bobby Kennedy, who I've done programs with, and it is a scary thing about the world, because pharma big pharma makes more money from vaccines than drugs. They make more money. They make trillions of dollars. They are on a stampede right now for the Zika vaccine. Yeah, wow, that's a couple trillion right in the works right now. So they're lining up, and they're going to make it mandatory. The government, with the FDA and the CDC, it's a cesspool of corruption. A cesspool. And we need to stand up, and we need to stop. I stopped teaching at NYU because they wanted me to get a flu vaccine. All the faculty had to go into a room and get a flu vaccine. I said, I'm not getting it. They said, well, then you can't teach in the clinic. I said, okay, I'm not going to teach in the clinic. I'm going to start my own teaching place. So here's your seafood and your other. But anyway, just gives you an idea. So amalgam fillings, I was on Dr. Oz. I went on Dr. Oz. I finally convinced him to do this, and he took a lot of heat. The ADA withdrew their support for his online blog, which is, I forgot the name of it now. It's a big health blog that he has called, something begins with an S. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, ADA pulled their sponsorship of that after this piece aired. Everything I said was carefully said. I got up and said, mercury is the most neurotoxic element on earth. Okay? The ADA couldn't come after me for that one. Okay? I also said that, and they watered it, they tried to water it down, and the problem is they shot a 1-hour piece that was going to be distilled into 5 minutes to show the safe removal. And they bagged that, instead aired the piece on me talking about chlorella and onion, and garlic and other things that, chlorella and selenium and things that, nutrients that help with mercury. But it was more important that we scared them about the fillings. Let's show them that they got to be taken out safely. The most amount of mercury that you could be exposed to is the unsafe removal of an amalgam. And I know Dr. Pompa will second that with me. And he witnessed that himself. The FDA was caught hiding the dangers of dental mercury since 2011. I graduated dental school in 1983 being told that the mercury is magically locked into the fillings. So don't worry about it, dental students. Go out there and do your silver fillings. The insurance company loves them. Of course, they're cheap. They stay in for a long time, so they don't have to pay for a new filling. And a monkey could put them in with their thumb. Okay, it's putty, just like stuffing putty in there. But we know, and there's a YouTube video called, The Toxic Tooth, the Smoking Tooth, excuse me. It's the smoking tooth. It's well done. And here you could actually see the gases coming off the amalgam filling. I was a producer of this. This is a film done by a good friend of mine, Randall Moore. You got to see this film. It got a bunch of awards, but it is the best film called Evidence of Harm. You could go online. You can download it, show it to your patients. I was going to put a clip up over here, but I didn't, we didn't know how to, I don't know how to embed that. Anyway, mercury poisoning and Alzheimer's disease, talking with my good friend and neurologist in front here, the symptoms of mercury poisoning and the symptoms of Alzheimer's. Remarkably the same. Remarkably the same. So, safe mercury removal, IAOMT is a club. It is not an organization that credentializes dentists. They're trying to, but it's very hard because it was founded by anti-mercury dentists, and it was sort of a hippie group back when I came out of dental school. It formed in '84. I graduated in '83, and I was like, I'm a professor of dentistry at NYU. I actually have a clinical research wing at New York University named after me. I gave a naming gift in 2006 before my 401k became a 101k. But that was... My wife crucifies me about that every year, But anyway, it's good to give. But the reality is that the IOMT is trying to now, certify dentists for the safe removal. The problem is most of these guys don't do the safe placement or the restorations that I believe are of a quality that are commensurate with what you should have for a healthy, proper restorative technique. Like these on the bottom here are done on my CEREC machine. It is a computer that scans the tooth and digitally reads the tooth. And with a 3D printer in my lab, I can make a ceramic restoration for a tooth while the patient's in the chair without sending it to a laboratory. Composite restorations up here, also, same thing. Mercury, so they look really good. The only thing is, a lot of biologic dentists don't do fillings that look that good. And that is a problem. Great partner. This product is really an ingenious little product here. These hydrolyzed clinoptilolite. Clinoptilolite. Right, the babopsy. Anyway, let's go. I'm going to go quickly through this, and then I'm going to get to some real fun stuff. How a root canal can be making you sick. Let's talk about what happens with root canal. By the way, this guy, Bob Kulas, is a dentist who had his license taken away because he advised patients to have their mercury fillings removed. And the ADA went after him, took his license away. He was the president of the NYU dental school class the year after me. I was the president of my class at New York University. He was the president the year after me. But he went on. He's a great guy. He went on to do this whole research study with this cardiologist, Dr. Levy, and about how root canals can make you sick. Root canals make you sick because it's impossible. It was, keyword was, impossible to sterilize the tooth because what you have to understand is that this yellow part of the tooth are called dental tubules. So it's porous. And in a necrotic tooth like this, abscess tooth, you get a bad cavity, tooth abscesses. By the way, if you have an abscess like this tooth comes out, in my opinion. In my opinion, all of the science right now shows that this, the amount of success of this versus a dental implant replacement, and I'm not going to speak about dental implants, zirconia and titanium and all that. I'll give you a few lines about it, but I really don't have the time. I actually had a 90-minute presentation for you guys, but I got the program and it was 60 minutes, so about an hour ago, I just tried to make this a 60-minute presentation. So at any rate, these dental tubules, it's impossible to sterilize it by putting some sodium hypochlorite in the canal, flush it out, and then put this filling material. What happens when you put in a filling material like this, if this exists? I will tell you right now, you will most certainly have a cavitation. You will most certainly create an incubator for very harmful bacteria. So the majority of root canals done in the past were a disaster. And some of you came up to me with root canal questions and things like that. Let me tell you what's changing. By the way, these are disasters. These are actual patients that I've seen. Broken file in there. Dentist did a root canal. Okay, the little files they use, oh yeah, well, we can't fill it. We'll just leave it. This is a time bomb. This is definitely a time bomb, and I will show you the serious cancers that can develop when you have a chronic inflammation and how it converts to cancer. Very, very interesting. This is what that tooth looks like when it's extracted. This was in the bone. So, and lucky because this is a cyst. When it's not a cyst and the body doesn't try and wall it off and heal from that, when it's not, those pathogens are just having a party, going through your whole body. So what do we have? Arthritis, heart disease, neurodegenerative disease, digestive disorders, mental disorders, and cancer. And my profession says, oh, no, we don't know. Maybe not, maybe yes. It is yes. So I did a lot of research in this regard because I'm here and I don't want to scare you guys into saying, I had a root canal. I'm dying. I got to get it out. The reality is that some of your root canal, the most successful root canals are those that are done on a sterile pulp. In other words, you had a deep cavity, your dentist says the nerve is exposed, it's no longer sterile, we need to do root canal therapy. That's the best because you don't have this abscess yet. This forms with time, right there. So, the newest thing that we're using are lasers. The laser on the left here is an erbium chromium YAG that I use. It actually has a radial firing tip that uses an erbium chromium YAG wavelength of light that kills bacteria in the dental tubules. So it radial fires. So in other words, it comes to the end and then it goes all over. So on this wand, the BioLase company came out with this. It's called the WaterLase 2.0. If you want to ask your dentist if he has it. The WaterLase 2.0, one of the most brilliant lasers that came out. It can do everything. Non-surgical, gum surgery. Gum surgery that you go back to work the next day and it doesn't hurt. But here you could see the penetration depth into the dental tubules by rinsing. You know, they rinse inside the tooth, flush it out, 100 microns, right? Penetration depth, dental tubules with the laser light, 1,000 microns. That's how you're going to disinfect the tooth. And that's a best case. And that's only if you have what we call a carious exposure. A chronically infected tooth, okay, should not be restored with root canal therapy. You should have that tooth extracted and replaced with a dental implant, a bridge, a partial. Your dentist can give you your treatment alternatives. So low-level lasers in place of local anesthetic, and it's also being used to heal root canals, extraction sites, and cavitations. Every tooth I take out, I take teeth out with the laser. I actually do atraumatic extractions with a dental laser. It is unbelievable because I go in the laser, separate the periodontal ligaments from the socket, then I disinfect the entire socket with the laser. It's a whole different way that, dentistry is evolving. So when somebody goes, you got a root canal, rip it out. I hope I've given you a rational protocol. If you've had a root canal from a dental abscess, get it out. Because I tell you, there are pathogens in there. Okay, if you had a root canal that was done on a carious exposure and it's sealed and filled, keep it in. Fluoride, going to go quickly here. Fluoride helps bring heavy metals past the brain-blood barrier. Fluoride is the biggest public health hoax of our century. Actually last century, 1950s. We have fluoridated communities with higher rates of decay and non-fluoridated, and we have fluoridated communities with lower IQ in children than non-fluoridated. So basically, all of these side effects have been documented. The fluoride we put in the water is actually not fluoride at all. It's hydrofluorosilicic acid, which has a very corrosive effect, leaching lead out of municipal water supplies. And you have Flint, Michigan is happening all over this country right now, everybody. Okay? And I love the water filter that the Therasage people have. It's really cool. I've been using ionized water for a long time, structured water. Let's talk about, here's the poison warning. Okay. I've had people asking me about that. This is really great, sodium fluoride and triclosan. So why is there a poison warning? Because there's enough fluoride in a full-size tube of toothpaste to kill 2 children under 5. Big problem we have is fluoride is everywhere. Food processed with fluoride water, the one you don't really think about that much. Fluoride supplements, those are sort of gone by the wayside. Toothpaste enhanced with fluoride. By the way, we now know that fluoridating the water doesn't do anything on the areas of your teeth where you get 85% of your cavities, which are the pits and grooves. Okay, and why do you get cavities there? Acid. Why do you get acid? Carb. All right, we're in a sugar-addicted world. So we was trying to come up with new methadone for the sugar-addicted world. The methadone we have now is the sugar alcohols. Xylitol, erythritol, sorbitol. Before that, we had aspartame. Before that, we had saccharin. And who gets in that business? Sugar business gets into the sugar substitute business, too. So we got a lot of fluoride. How much? 4 to 10 kids in America have fluoride damage. Now, what's interesting is fluorosis, which they go, oh, it's just a harmless little, look, that's just white spots on the teeth. Oh, but 16% of those people have this. This is $20,000 of dental veneers and yada, 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 and restorative work. But 4 to 10 kids have been drinking something that is regulated as a toxic substance that was given to them to protect them from decay. In essence, 4 to 10 kids in America now have teeth more prone to decay, the very thing they were given fluoride to protect them from. Pretty astounding. This is from the CDC. And mild fluorosis is this, severe fluorosis is that. So what do we have? Lower IQ, learning disabilities, but everybody knows, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but Hitler was the first to use fluoride in Poland. Okay, why did he dump fluoride in the water in Poland? Because it has a pacific effect on the population. Pacifies you, lowers your IQ. Maybe why we have an election like we have this year. Just thinking about that. It's from the fluoride. That's why we got 2 candidates that are like, oh. Anyway, fluoridation and lead crisis, I just alluded to that. Fluoride, neurotoxin, leaches lead out of the pipes. Why? Because hydrofluorosilicic acid, the byproduct of the aluminum and fertilizer industries, dumped in our water. They also make sarin gas from that, which, Saddam Hussein and Assad used on their own people, Bashar Assad. Anyway, great film here. So, the evidence of harm for dental mercury. This is a great one for fluoride. 7 ways. I thought this was kind of interesting. What's also interesting is how to protect yourself against fluoride toxicity. Where's that cytodetox? That cytodetox. Here you have fulvic acid, right? And here, coffee enemas. Let's do a bullet enema. I don't know. No. Bullet coffee enema. Tamarind. Okay, but 3 on the bottom here. Magnesium. Magnesium blocks the absorption of fluoride in cells. Very interesting. Vitamin C. So those are good. Triclosan. Let's very quickly. Triclosan. Right? Triclosan. Chemical used by Colgate Total to fight off gum disease linked to cancer. This was back in 2014. It was in a lot of stuff. So it's been banned in all of this except Colgate toothpaste. And this made me fall off my beach chair when I was on holiday in Italy. I had People magazine, the international version, and I'm sitting there, and there's, what's her name, Kelly Ripa here with the bleached white teeth, holding this and goes, eliminates 15 times more bacteria to improve the health of your mouth. No, and I was like, I got up and I was like, I can't deal with this, that they got away with this false and misleading advertising, okay? Eliminating 15 times more bacteria is like creating the atrophic biofilm and all. So What's the deal with triclosan? Indefinite, almost indefinite afterlife in human tissue. 60% of women's breast milk. Endocrine disruptor. Antibiotic resistance. And here's the other three. Carcinogens when exposed to chlorine in tap water. It forms chloroform. When you brush with Colgate Total and you rinse with chlorinated tap water, you form chloroform molecules in your mouth. And that study, and I can't believe, Colgate's doing a lot of damage control. They're secretly removing triclosan right now, I came to find out. But they have so much influence over the FDA that they actually got the FDA to ban it in everything, but not in the toothpaste, because they said it's really not at a level that's harmful. It's like a little bit of cyanide, not a lot. And anyway, last one was linked to cardiac and skeletal muscle weakness. So triclosan is the glyphosate of oral care industry. And Crest is now advertising that you choose your poison, triclosan or fluoride. So actually, Crest is advertising. We only have the antibacterial ingredient stannous fluoride. So they know the truth, and they're still propagating a lie. We got to get out of the pesticide business. All right, I'm going to quickly do my thing on xylitol. So xylitol is a hydrogenated chemical. It is a chemical, everybody. See what it says down here? High-value chemical. It is not natural. It is not natural. By the way, 80% of the xylitol is made by Danica, which is owned by DuPont. You should know that. I know you guys are here saying, oh, but all the natural product industry, they throw it in so much, and it doesn't have calories, it doesn't spike your insulin, it'll make you fat. There's a lot of things about xylitol. It'll kill your dog. There are 2 pieces of xylitol gum is enough to kill a 100-gram rat. And the FDA is now coming down on xylitol and regulating it because of its problem killing your pet. But let's talk about what it does in the human body. It is highly disruptive to the oral microbiome. It is highly disruptive to the gut microbiome. It is, this methadone for the sugar business is not what we want. So it is made in a hydrogenation process, like margarine. It uses rainy nickel. Okay? Now some of them say, no, we use a different catalyst. Oh, we use birch bark. We don't use GMO corn cobs. 80% is GMO corn cobs. Okay? And we got a lot of birch trees. But I don't care if you take it from a flower. If it's a chemical at the end that's made in a hydrogenation process that's disruptive to your microbiome, it is crap. And that is why, this was in the FDA over the summer. I think this was in May of 2016. FDA sweetener, xylitol can kill or poison dogs. So now people are concerned. Now, I do want to say things. I love Dr. Mercola. He's a great guy. He has done a lot of good. And Dan I have both been working with him. I gave him a whole oral microbiome education because, to be honest with you, he came out with this toothpaste that was everything you don't want. Tea tree oil, licorice root, antimicrobial. So, you don't want to be antimicrobial. So he's a Revitin fan now. And this is what we came up with. I'm excited to show you 4 flavors. We have a cucumber flavor. And I spent 20 years developing this. I did. I spent 20 years developing this because I knew toothpaste was garbage. Toothpaste was invented by soap makers 100 years ago. It was flavored detergent for your mouth. So I made something you can eat. And the reason you can eat it is because everything I put in here came out of a health food store when I started it. I knew nothing about the oral microbiome at that time. And so on the new box, by the way, the ingredients down here are more, because it said natural flavors here, but it's actually essential oils. And so now we have tangerine oil, lemon oil, but we have really the nice thing, I have a little story, and we're chemical-free, paraben-free too. We could put 1 million frees on there, but it's biologically effective, prebiotic, promoting oral microbiome homeostasis. And it's got CoQ10, vitamin C, vitamin E, MSM. I know many of you have already been using this. Many of you have come up to me. We did our homework. First study I did came out. This woman, Anita Daniels, at the University of Miami School of Medicine, actually was the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Practical Dental Hygiene. She wrote me a letter. 25 years, she never saw something have such a powerful anti-inflammatory effect. This is Revitin in 7 days. This is Colgate Total, 12 weeks. Their studies were done in the Philippines. Then we did another study. There's a study when the FDA started coming around. We did a study in Italy, at Catholic University in Italy. And the second study was 14 days with Crest ProCare as the control, 42% reduction in gingival inflammation, plaque, 72% reduction in bleeding. But what I really want to do is show you, these are the effects. So on the top, you see these are more acid-base, right? The smokers get a lot of atrophic biofilm. They get a lot of sensitivity, root recession, all this stuff. And on the bottom, you get this stops the bleeding, comforts ulcers. That's the oxidation reduction type reactions in the mouth. All right, where is Sean? I'm gonna finish with this. Come here. Sean runs up to me yesterday, okay? And he goes, dude, I'm going to let him tell the story. What you have on the left here is Sean hands me these 2 pieces of paper yesterday that I scanned into this presentation. Because this is just one. I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of people who write me, thank you, God bless you, da-da-da-da-da-da. Because you know what? My hope is that the big guys will copy me, and we'll do this after, I'm effectively launched. I don't want to copy. We have 3 patents. But the truth is that this guy was on the verge of having gum surgery. And all those dark circles are where his gums were bleeding. And all he did was change his toothpaste. And these were the results on the right. So I'll let you just tell the rest.
All right, so everyone has a patient that won't do what they're supposed to, and I'm especially like that with my teeth. I hate to floss. Every time I go to the dentist, they ask me, have you been flossing? And I go, no, I'm sorry. I promise I'll do it for 2 days and then quit again. And so I figure if Weston Price can go all over the world and find cultures where they don't floss and they have great teeth. Matter of fact, Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, one of the things he talks about in there is we had no access to dental health care. We couldn't even brush our teeth, yet we all had excellent oral health. And I thought, if even Auschwitz survivors can get away without flossing, I need to find a way. So seriously, I hate it that much. So we were at Sunshine Symposium, and if you haven't been to Sunshine Symposium, you have to go. It's one of the greatest seminars you'll ever attend. Gerry gave his talk, and I said, I know this is what I'm looking for. I bought a whole case of it. I gave most of it to a dental friend of mine. I started brushing, had my teeth cleaned. 3 months later, went in and got that second checkup, and both the dentist and the hygienist said, wow, these results are amazing. You're doing everything right. And I didn't even have the heart to tell them I haven't been flossing or anything. The only thing I changed, because I brush once a day, I'm going to start brushing twice a day now because I want to see what better results I can get. But I brush once a day. The only thing in my life that I changed, I don't floss, is I started using Revitin. And the result, my gums don't bleed anymore. I have no cold sensitivity. Every single time I've been going to the dentist, I've tried all the toothpastes, the Thieves, Tom's, coconut oil, baking soda, whatever, none of it. I've progressively getting worse and worse with my periodontal disease, and Revitin 3 months, boom.
I'm gonna thank you, man.
Thank you.
This was not a paid endorsement. The thing I want to tell you is Gilles and I were talking right before this. Gilles healed himself of what probably, can I share this? What probably could have been a double heart transplant. Healed.
Double lung and heart transplant.
Our body, a double heart, no, did I say double heart?
Double lung and heart.
Double lung. A double heart, no, double lung. Anyway, we only have one heart.
I'm just speaking to the size of my heart now, right?
Our bodies have a wonderful ability to heal. What we really need to do is use an intelligence to help our bodies do what it's wonderfully made to do, to heal. We can heal. Gilles healed, Sean healed. We just have to really stop the insult and stop the Frankenstein science that we try to do and really help our bodies heal. And the greatest thing I can do, I woke up one morning and this voice said, you're going to change the face of oral care. And I was like, what? This is 20 years ago. I started my work on Revitin 20 years ago. This is 4 days of using Revitin. This was taken by Anita Daniels. See this? See the gum tissue right here? Just brushing, nothing else. Inflammation almost gone here, on its way to healing here, 4 days. And the big thing is removing the source, regenerating cell membrane. This is brilliant. The body wants to heal. We just can't leave the mouth out of the picture. So we're working on supplements. I don't have time to talk about that, but you can talk. I can, if you want, take a picture of this. You can reach me, follow me, try to give you a lot of information. I post some funny stuff. And in January of this year, we have 43 segments. Dr. Pompa's on there. Number of you are on this show, but it is a PBS TV show that will begin airing in late January 2017. And I have a book coming out in April called The Mouth-Body Connection. We'll probably have at the next meeting, your big meeting, we'll have the book. So thank you so much.